Okay, now that we've done that, let's look at how we are going to import some media into our project. So what I would do is ideally make sure that I'm in the cycling clips folder by double clicking on it. So I am in the cycling clips folder. These are the two subfolders therein. So that gives you an idea of the path. The next thing we're going to do to import footage is go to the media browser. When you click on the media browser, you will see the media browser tab, obviously. What I'm going to do is I'm going to enlarge this window. Now, something that you will find when you use Premiere is that the interface is very organic. You can simply click on any of these dark separator lines, click, hold, and drag to resize a particular window. Okay, so when you need a bit more working space with a particular panel or window that you're working in, you can simply click, hold, and drag, and that really becomes a useful little method of resizing your windows. But there's a little trick that is fairly useful, which is if you pick a particular panel and then hit the tilde key, which is the key that's just below the escape key and just above the tab key. So I'm just going to hit the tilde key now. You will find that the selected window will be maximized. Now let's look at the media browser. So you will see that the media browser displays your local drives and your network drives there, which is pretty useful. So all you need to do now is navigate to where your footage is and then simply pick the footage and pick import. So let's see how we do that. Now I'm going to go into my network drive because I know that's where I've saved all the short course files. So you obviously need to navigate to where you've saved your footage. So here we are. I've navigated to our short course folder where all our assets live, and even in this window you do have the option of switching from list view to icon view, which can be fairly useful, and you have control over the size of your icons by sliding this little slider down here. So now that we are in the folder where we know the footage lives, these are the clips that I'm actually after. The cycling clips are in this particular folder. Now there's another little thing you can do to help you stay organized or to help you work quicker, and that is you can right click on a particular folder that you know you're going to probably revisit, and right click and pick add to favorites. And what that does is it adds this particular folder to my favorites where I won't need to navigate to it the next time round. So once I've got that up in favorites, I can simply click it there, or I could have double clicked on it here, and that opens up that folder and shows me my clips in that folder. Now these three clips are the ones that I'm actually after. Let me show you a few useful tips and tricks in the media browser. One is that you can pick a clip and then use this little slider down here to have a look at what is in that clip. You can scrub the clip. You can come over to the next clip and also simply hover your mouse over the image area and move it left to right. That shows you what is on that clip, and it's the same with this clip as well. So that's fairly useful. That's one thing that I wanted to show you. The other is there is a useful filter button here where you can pick a particular file type. If you were after, let's say, a Photoshop file, for example, you can simply pick Photoshop from that list and it would show you just the Photoshop files in this folder. So that's pretty useful. You can also click on the search bar there and then type in a particular name of a file if you were trying to look for it. Okay, so once you decide that these are the clips that you want, you can pick just the one or control click and pick a couple. My personal favorite is where I lasso the clip. That is where I simply click in an empty area, click, hold, and drag to capture the three clips that I want to import. And once I make sure that they're all selected, I can right click and pick import. So that imports the files. Now what I'm going to do is hit the tilde key to minimize this window once again. Okay, so now we're back to the familiar interface. So we're still on the media browser tab. To see the clips that we imported, we go back to the project bin. So there you go, the 3 clips are there, and looks like they've come into the cycling clips folder as opposed to the daytime footage folder, because as you can see, me expanding this folder and closing it makes no visibility difference to those 3 clips. So if I wanted to, I could simply pick the 3 clips and drag it into that folder. Simple as that. It works just like organizing files on a Mac or PC. Right, so now that we've got our 3 clips there, what we're going to do next is create a sequence. But before we create a sequence, I'll also show you a couple of other ways that you can import clips into Premiere. So another easy method is where you pick an empty area and you double click in that empty area, and that opens up a Explorer window where you can then navigate to where your clips live and pick as many as you like, or just the one. If I was to go back to a particular folder, I can easily pick a folder and then pick import folder as well. So that's another method of importing footage. The third one is where if you're a shortcut sort of person, you can hit Command I or Control I, and that opens up an Explorer window where you can navigate to and pick your footage as well. Okay, so now let's get back to creating a sequence. To create a sequence, you can simply pick one of the clips that you have already imported. Simply pick the one. So I'm going to pick this cycling opening shot and click, hold, and drag into the timeline area and simply release. What that does is Premiere creates a new sequence that is optimized to match the settings of that particular clip that you brought into Premiere. So you don't have to worry about the ratio or the frame size or the frame rate and what camera you shot it on and so on and so forth, because Premiere will create a sequence that is automatically optimized to the footage that you have brought into Premiere. Now there is going to be a dilemma if you have footage coming in from different sources. Just have a chat with me about that and I'll tell you what to do in those sorts of instances. Another important thing to observe is now that we created a sequence, that sequence is represented in your project panel area by this file that's got created here. You will notice that the icon there has changed to show that it's a sequence as opposed to these clips being footage that have video and audio on them. This is the sequence, and because we were in that daytime footage folder when we created this sequence, the sequence file has automatically slotted itself in that folder, but you can simply move it out by clicking on it and just dragging it out. Now what I strongly recommend is that you create another bin and then put those sequences in a bin title sequences so that you don't confuse it with your footage. And we can also go ahead and simply single click on the sequence file and title this and call this first edit maybe. So there you go, we've got the sequence file and we've renamed it as well. Okay, now let's have a look at some of the basic transport controls that you're going to need to get around your edit. If we come back to the timeline panel here, we have that clip that we threw on there to create the sequence. Now just a quick note about that, we just threw that clip on there to create the sequence and to get the settings all correct. We don't need to have that clip there. For example, if that isn't the clip that you want to use for your very first shot, you don't really need to have it there. You can delete it and bring another clip in, but let's just leave it there for now just to go through the transport controls. So once I'm on the timeline, I can simply grab my playhead. So that's called the playhead, this fellow here, and simply drag it around left or right to scrub a clip to get to a particular point that I want to get, or the button that you're going to be using most, or rather the key that you're going to be using most, is the space bar. So you hit the space bar to play, you hit the space bar to stop. Some other keys that are going to be pretty useful is J, K and L. If you hit the L key, you'll find that your clip will play forwards. Fast forward, you can hit the L key again and the speed will increase even further. To stop, you can hit the K key. If you were to hit the J key, you'll find that it goes back in reverse, and if you hit the J key again, it will go back in reverse faster. So I'm going to stop. So those are the basic controls. Spacebar to play and stop, JKL to move forwards and backwards. Using the arrow keys, you can move the playhead forward or backward a frame at a time. So that's forward, that's backward. The backward and forward arrows is what I use there. You can also move your mouse to any particular point in the playhead area and simply click to move the playhead to that particular point. You can also zoom in and out of a clip on the timeline by hitting the plus and minus keys. So plus will zoom in like so, and minus will zoom out like so.